Over the course of the 2 months or so since the administration has come into power, the attacks on Ukraine haven't stopped, even though these conversations have started. And so Ukrainians continue to die. The front lines don't move very much, as they haven't for a long time now. But at the same time, every day we see Ukrainians being killed in the war and strikes happening on both sides.
Welcome to Reporter's Notebook. We talk to the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the stories breaking on their beats. I'm Jim Antle. I'm joined today by defense reporter Mike Brest. Mike, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth. He's completed a trip to Panama. What were some of the takeaways from that?
So the primary thing from this trip was that he positioned the U.S. as a strong ally of Panama in what he said was trying to prevent China from infiltrating the Panama Canal, which we know has been a subject of significant conversation in this administration. And so from Secretary Hegseth's trip there and his comments that he made while there, he didn't talk as much about obtaining control of the canal the way the president has, and he has in the past. It was much more of a conciliatory notion in which he was talking about how they would work together. And so at the conclusion of this trip, they announced a new partnership which would give the U.S. military ships, and even U.S. Commercial vessels the ability to go through the canal in essentially a first-come, first-served basis. And so it would allow them to cut the line, and that was one of the parts of the agreement that came out of this trip. The other thing was increased cooperation, increased trainings between the U.S. and Panamanian troops.
There have been some reports of Chinese involvement in the Russia-Ukraine war. What's going on there?
So earlier this week, we heard from Ukrainian President Zelensky that they had captured two Chinese nationals fighting with Russia. Now, the big question at the heart of this issue is, were these Chinese nationals volunteers who came to Russia on their own volition and enlisted, or, and this would be the much more significant development, if the Chinese military provided troops to Russia for use in Ukraine. And so the difference is it would take the level of Chinese involvement in this war up dramatically. It would significantly raise the tension and the temperature in the region if China had decided to directly impact the conflict. And so we're still waiting to see how this plays out. We heard from the Ukrainian side earlier today that there are reports of up to 150 Chinese nationals who have been arrested by or captured by Ukrainian forces. And so we're still waiting to see how this plays out and whether or not they were sent there or were volunteers.
What is the status of any peace talks between Russia and Ukraine?
At this exact moment, we saw negotiations. We saw senior diplomats from both parties meet earlier today in the Middle East. And the U.S. actually expressed concern at the Russians' refusal to allow them to use local staff to staff up the embassy. And so this seems like a minor hiccup in the overall tenor of the negotiations, but at the same time, the fact that the State Department was willing to share this publicly sort of emphasizes the fact that this is still a hurdle that they'll have to overcome, as are the entire negotiations, because over the course of the 2 months or so since the administration has come into power, the attacks on Ukraine haven't stopped, even though these conversations have started. And so Ukrainians continue to die. The front lines don't move very much, as they haven't for a long time now. But at the same time, every day we see Ukrainians being killed in the war and strikes happening on both sides.
Thank you, Mike. You can read Mike and the rest of our national security team's coverage at washingtonexaminer.com.